Cooking time, come on grab your friends, we'll go to very tasty lands. Come cook with me and then we will see if I'll recommend the Adventure Time Cookbook. Adventure Time, the official cookbook with recipes by Jordan Grocer and text by Christopher Hastings, gives us a taste of the tasty meals in the land of ooh. The backstory of this book is actually really interesting and creative. Story-wise, this book is actually originally called The Founder's Island Kitchen, Valuable Meals for Healthy Families, which is an old cookbook Finn found in the library. However, since the book is super old, many of the pages were missing, so Finn and friends decided to fill it up with their own cookie recipe entries. So in some pages you'll see some traditional old-looking recipes from the original book, and beside them are the new, wild and vibrant entries pasted on by your favorite Adventure Time characters. There are way more of the newer recipes than the old ones, which is great because the new ones are more interesting. I really love the overall design of the pages. It's cool how the old recipe pages have black and white photos with traditional text and accents, and how the new pages contrast with super vibrant images and notes that look roughly pasted on, which feel very in character. I'm glad to see that this book is littered with illustrations of Adventure Time characters and references. Some of the recipe photos even include characters in the background or foreground kind of interacting with the food, and it makes some of the recipes look super fun. I love how the cookbook visually and thematically capture the energy of the show. The writing in the cookbook is also pretty fun to read. I dig the idea that the different recipes are written by different Adventure Time characters, and it's fun to read their different personalities come through the recipe descriptions. And the one thing I love the most about this cookbook is that the humor in the writing extends to the recipe steps themselves, so even the instructions are fun to read. In other cookbooks, usually the character and personality is usually found in the blurb up top, and all the steps are pretty straightforward. But in this book, there are still some funny little lines interspersed with instructions, as if the characters have written all the steps themselves. Love that cute little attention to detail. Food-wise, I think the recipes themselves are very accessible. Most of the ingredients look pretty easy to source, and many of the recipes look pretty simple to do. There are some recipes that involve more advanced cooking techniques, but there are also a handful of super easy recipes that are pretty much just assembling the different type of ingredients you collected. So whether you're a beginner cook or have experience in the kitchen, there's a little something for everyone. But since I'm hungry, I gotta cook a little something for me. I'm gonna make 3 dishes from the Adventure Time Cookbook to forge a feast fit for Finn and friends. First, we're gonna be making some bacon pancakes. Take some bacon in and put it in a pancake. Before we make the pancakes, let's work on the toppings. First, the walnut butter. The star of the show here, a cup of these walnuts that's been soaked for 24 hours and drained. We're gonna pop these in the oven at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for 12 to 15 minutes. When done and the walnuts have cooled, place them in a food processor and pulse them until they're pasty. Then add in 1.5 teaspoon of walnut or canola oil, 1 tablespoon of honey, 1 tablespoon of butter, and a pinch of salt. It's hard to see in the shot, but I'm actually adding them slowly in that hole up top, but it's not showing up here. I think I was over mixing mine and it got too runny, so I just added some more walnuts and pulsed it very carefully until I got the thick consistency I wanted. When everything is combined, you should have a nice thickish walnut butter to use for your pancakes. Next is the maple jelly. This one is even easier. In a blender or food processor, mix together 3/4 cup of maple syrup with 3 ounces of cold water and a cup of apricot jelly. Pop this mixture in the fridge for a couple of hours and let the jelly firm up so it's a little thicker and gloopy. Okay, now for the pancakes themselves. In a mixing bowl, we're going to combine together our dry ingredients, which are 2 cups of all-purpose flour, 3 tablespoons of sugar, 1.5 teaspoon of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Then in a different bowl, combine the wet ingredients. 4 eggs, 2 cups of buttermilk, and 1/2 cup of melted butter. When mixed, slowly add in the dry ingredients and mix thoroughly. Like the maple jelly, this one looks runnier than I was expecting, but I'll leave it be. Maybe it'll firm up on the pan. Spray some non-stick spray on a medium non-stick pan over medium heat and ladle in some batter a bit at a time. Cook the bottom until brown, took me about 2 minutes, then sprinkle on some cooked smoked bacon on the batter, then flip it, which will seal the bacon in. Do this for the rest of the pancakes, stack them up and add maple jelly and walnut butter. Bacon pancakes, that's what it's gonna make, bacon pancake! Now that we have pancakes, might as well stick to breakfast with some sausage breakfast party pizza with a recipe by Party God. To make the dough, combine 3.5 cups of bread flour, 1 teaspoon of sugar, 1 package of active dry yeast, and 2 teaspoons of salt in a mixer. While the machine is on slow speed, add in 1.5 cups of warm water around 110 degrees Fahrenheit in temperature. Then add in 1 teaspoon of chopped rosemary, half a teaspoon of chopped sage, and 2 tablespoons of olive oil. Amp up the speed to medium for about 3 to 4 minutes until it balls up and pulls away from the sides of the bowl. Then cover it up in plastic wrap and let it rest in a warm spot to let it double in size. Once grown, place it on a floured surface, but oh no, my dough is way too sticky. I didn't know how to fix it, so I added flour to try to get more control of it. After fighting with it for a while, I tried to find a fix for it on Google, and one suggested to wait a few minutes to let the gluten build, then knead it with oiled hands to get it to ball up in a smooth and round dough. I hope I didn't add too much flour, but it is what it is. I still suck at baking, but as Finn once said, sucking at something is the first step to being sorta good at something. Divide it into 2 equal pieces and cover them with a towel or plastic wrap for 10 minutes. Then you can roll out the dough until you have a disc that's 10 to 12 inches round. The second dough I'll keep in the fridge for midweek. Transfer the dough to a greased baking sheet or pizza pan and spread on half a cup of pizza sauce. Sprinkle on a cup of mozzarella and spread some sliced breakfast sausages and a chopped green onion on top. Crack open 2 eggs on each half, then pop this in the oven at 450 degrees Fahrenheit for 10 to 12 minutes until the crust is crisp. Time to have a pizza party, y'all! And for dessert, I'm putting together some chips and ice cream based on these 2 guys. To start, the recipe calls for 1 pint of ice cream. Place some medium-sized scoops on a cookie sheet or casserole dish and freeze for at least 2 hours so they keep their ball shape. Work fast, cause as you can see, it melts quick. While we wait for that, take a 14-ounce bag of plain potato chips and crush them in a bowl until the bits are pea-sized. Don't struggle like what I'm doing here, it's easier to just put them in a Ziploc and rolling pin it to bits. Now for the strawberry topping. Heat up a small saucepan over medium heat and cook 2 cups of diced strawberries, half a cup of sugar, and the juice of 1 lemon until the strawberries are nice and soft. Should take about 10 minutes. Remove from the heat and add in another cup of fresh strawberries so you have that textural contrast. When combined, set it in the refrigerator to cool. Next, we gotta take our completely frozen scoops of ice cream and roll those in the potato chip crumbs one at a time until they're all completely coated. The cookbook doesn't specify the ice cream flavor, so you have the freedom to pick pretty much whatever you like. I picked Ben & Jerry's cookie dough because I thought that would match best with the chips. What type of ice cream would you pair with potato chips? Let me know in the comments. Place all your ice cream in a bowl and drizzle on some of that strawberry sauce and add on some extra chips and fresh strawberries. Kinda weird that it doesn't look like the cookbook's photo since it doesn't look like they rolled their ice cream in chips, but I still think it looks pretty dope and I can't wait to try it. While the wait is over, it's tasting time. Starting off with these bacon pancakes, gonna take a big honkin' bite of this, and it's not bad. It smells intensely savory with a super strong bacon smell. I usually like the mix of sweet and savory, but for some reason this is messing with me. Even though the pancake came out thinner than I expected, it actually still has a pretty fluffy mouthfeel and the crispiness of the bacon is a nice contrast. The maple jelly is just the right amount of sweetness, but the star of the show is the walnut butter. It's got the perfect smooth texture and an awesome nutty flavor that just balances everything perfectly. I want to use this walnut butter on everything. Now, these aren't the best pancakes I've had, but it's not bad at all and I do like all the flavor profiles. Nice recipe, Jake. Moving on to the other breakfast item, the breakfast pizza. Definitely passes the eye test as it looks pretty great, but I'm hoping the crust holds up. And it's not bad as well. It's a decent slice of pizza. The crust isn't super crispy or anything, but it's not too doughy as well. The toppings are decent, but not mind-blowing since the sauce is just standard canned stuff with no additional seasoning. The bites with the breakfast sausages are awesome though, I should have put more of that. The eggs, I definitely overcooked. Maybe my oven was way too hot, but the eggs pretty much turned plasticky. I was hoping for a glorious runny yolk to just flow over the surface of the pizza, but I got this egg rubber instead. I definitely should have cooked these for less. Not gonna blame that on the recipe though, I think I just had my oven on too hot for too long. Chips and ice cream. Love eating these 2 things but never tried them both together. Is it a good pairing? It's alright, surprisingly. It's not off-putting or anything, but at the same time, I don't think the chips enhance the ice cream much. The crunch is nice, but not as good as the crunch peanuts provide. The strawberry syrup, though, is delicious, beautifully tart and sweet. Final verdict for the Adventure Time Cookbook: food looks fun, but just fair in flavor.
Thank you.